Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. So September of 2024. I have some comments on the recent school tragedy in Georgia. So normally, every time one of these events comes up, there's a lot of discussion on the mental health of the shooter and maybe those around him. And a lot of times, these shooters are on multiple prescription drugs. And so, when I was around the age of the shooter, I also was on several drugs, if I remember correctly. I was able to wean off them. But I want to talk about a problem I ran into. And first of all, let's talk about how I weaned off of it, how I weaned off the drugs. I stopped consuming I stopped drinking soda when I was 16 years old, and not long after that, I started feeling a whole lot better, and so I cut out all refined white sugar, and I started reading more about other chemicals in our food that were contributing to poor mental health, MSG, trans fats, food colorings, among other things. And haven't consumed anything artificial like that for over 2 decades now, if you can believe it. But I ran into a huge problem at the beginning of trying to do this. Uh, I lost my physical craving for that stuff very quickly. Let's see, I stopped drinking soda when I was 16 years old. It wasn't months before I lost my craving. In fact, the reason I cut out the other sources of sugar in my diet was kind of interesting. I had quit drinking the soda in a September, if I remember correctly. It was the beginning of a school year. That Thanksgiving or Christmas time, I had been eating something else. I can't remember what it was. And I had belched up this gas, and the flavor of that gas reminded me of soda, and it was the most disgusting thing in the world. It wasn't like, oh my God, I want to reach for a soda. It was, oh my God, this is disgusting. And so I started reading more about stuff. This was back in the days of dial-up internet. You could search things, but it might take some time. And so research like what did I eat that caused this flavor usually took hours to do. It wasn't like instant, right? You got to remember the days we were in. But that was fun. I was introverted. I didn't have a girlfriend at the time. And so I spent multiple hours reading about it, and so I got a lot of resolution about it. Now, the big problem is that there was a lot of social headwinds. Um, Thank God I was introverted. Otherwise, it could have been a heck of a lot worse, right? Eventually, when I was graduating from college, I didn't want to go to the graduation ceremony because I would have to defend on why I didn't want to eat various things. And so I just felt that it was unnecessary. Even my parents were completely misguided. They thought that I needed to, that it was hurting my social life not to eat whatever. No, it's the fact that these people won't acknowledge my eating ways that is hurting my social life. They had it completely backwards. You don't go along with bad things, right? You speak up against them, right? If your office politics is homophobic, or if they're homophobic, you don't go against it by having a life that you disagree with, or you speak up against it, right? If there's sexual harassment at your workplace, you don't go along with it by giving in to the advances of your manager, right? You speak up against it or you fight against it. But my parents were completely misguided about my food choice. And this is something that can not only hurt the person who is trying to eat healthy, but society at large when people give up on it and they end up hurting their mental health and they go shoot up a school, right? People don't seem to acknowledge that, right? Your homophobia against somebody eating healthy when your taste buds are not even being affected, right? I don't know why there's so much of headwind, right? Is contributing to somebody not being able to take care of themselves and that person hurting society, our safety, our security, our economy, and it's going to come back to hurt you, right? That's what people don't seem to understand. Now, 20 years ago, there was a lawsuit against McDonald's. It was around the time that I started eating healthy. Um, kids alleged that McDonald's had made them obese, and they lost that lawsuit. But I think the lawsuit was misdirected. It needs to be directed at this whole complex of society giving so much headwind to healthy eating, even to this day. I can't tell you how many times I go to an event. Nowadays, it's not so hard. 20 years ago, you would not have been invited to the party in the first place. Today, at the party, I refuse various foods. People want to know why. And when I bring it up, especially if somebody prepared the dish, right? People take it as an insult when you refuse various foods. And they want to tell me that an occasional whatever is okay. Here's my take on it. If you spent time preparing the dish, I can still enjoy it with my eyes and with my acknowledgement. I just won't enjoy it with my body because, well, it's kind of none of your business. But just it's incompatible, right? It's kind of like remember a few years ago when doctors were advising us to get 3 injections of this substance, right? Imagine if you prepared an alternative to that, right, at home, right? And you say, we don't trust those 3 injections. Maybe take the stuff that I make instead, right? Herbal medicine or whatever it is. And somebody doesn't believe in you. I think most people have the decency to acknowledge that we can agree to be different, right? But for some reason, when it comes to food, even though they're not very different concepts, by the way, we've lost that good sense, right? I don't know why. I really cannot answer to why. But they're the same concept, right? Imagine you go on your first date with somebody and you say, hey, why don't we go to the pharmacy and let's compare notes on what we like to take, right? That's a very similar concept when you can't acknowledge that you and your partner might eat very different things. So at the restaurant, or right, they both involve bodily functions, right? For some reason, our society has completely distorted one set of things that we can put into our body, right? For some reason, right? I'm not exaggerating there, right? I really am not exaggerating with that analogy. That's how I feel about it. For some reason, one set of substances is very private, while the other is completely open out there for reasons I cannot explain, other than the fact that there's an industrial complex behind it, right? All right, some thoughts there. Make it easy or at least make it seamless for somebody to follow the lifestyle that they want to, and I think people will follow a much healthier lifestyle if we do. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.